You know, it's hard not to get caught up in the hype, so I will. Um, the Vegas Golden Knights have become easily the biggest story of the early season. 3 games, 3 wins, and let's take a look at it. They come back to win against Dallas. They come back to win against um, Arizona, and they win last night against Arizona as well. Um, it's a story that you have to ask, well, how long can it continue? So let's just go ahead and get the schedule out, shall we? And I will say this, they've won me over, but more than anything, I think James Neal's the one that's kind of won us over. So back-to-backs against Arizona will sometimes help your record, to be honest. And Arizona's got to be mad. Like, if you're a Coyotes player or member of management, you got to be like, wait, we can't beat the Golden Knights? Is this the start of another long year for Arizona? The rest of this month is actually pretty sweet for them. They're at home against Detroit. They're at home against Boston. At home against Buffalo, St. Louis, Chicago, Colorado. And then they go on a road trip. 6 games, New York, so the Islanders and the Rangers, Boston, Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal. Boston's getting all their games against the Western Conference done early, apparently. I don't know. Now, that's a 7-game homestand. And the next game is on Friday against Detroit. If you're going to ask how far this can go, I think they can beat Detroit. I think they can beat Boston. They could beat Buffalo. So the furthest I could see this going would be 6 games. Now that's crazy, but here's the problem. In order for this to go 6 games, Marc-Andre Fleury has to continue to play on, stand on his head. He can. But James Neal has to keep up this goal scoring because outside of James Neal, there isn't really a large offensive force on this team. And you have to wonder, if they had Shipachev, are we looking at a team that's even more offensively dangerous? Or are we looking at a team that's more challenged? And I think the nice thing is that when you ask yourself, what's a successful expansion season? They're almost there, really. They're competitive. They're reasonably well talented team, and to me, this speaks as much about what was available as it does to what McPhee got as a GM. Any expansion team before this one, you're going to have guys out of Europe that have never played before. You're going to have older players who've been in the American Hockey League that are trying to break through. You're going to have players who are cast-offs. This team isn't really like that. If you look at the makeup of the roster, most of these guys have been NHL players on some level. And if in the case of James Neal, you've had relatively decent success. Neal scored 30 goals in the NHL before. It's not unheard of that he could score them again. And they've got some good young prospects already, and they're goaltending with Marc-Andre Fleury. I would say Marc-Andre Fleury alone is the best that any team has ever had for an expansion goaltender. Vegas is really dealing from a position of strength this year. And they are on a level that other teams haven't been on. It'll be more difficult as the season goes along for them to get these wins and get these points. But the question that's already got to be on somebody's mind is, could these guys actually get a wild card spot? I would say no. And then I remember Florida. Remember the Florida Panthers coming out of nowhere and being pretty damn good right out of the gate. And Florida making it to the Stanley Cup final not that long after they joined the NHL, and they haven't been back there since. Now, Florida's first year, it was an 84-game schedule, and they had 83 points. They had 233 goals for and 233 goals against. They finished 5th in the Atlantic, 9th in the East. So they were the last team eliminated. They had 46 points the following year in a 48-game schedule, and again, they were 9th in the East. And it was the following year they went to the final. That Florida Panthers team and this Vegas team are similar because Florida had a goalie named John Van Beesbroek. Now, the only reason that I put Fleury ahead of Van Beesbroek is Fleury's got these Stanley Cup rings that Van Beesbroek didn't have. And Fleury, I think, has been better for longer than Van Beesbroek was. Van Beesbroek had some very good seasons, but then he'd have the bad ones in between. Marc-Andre Fleury's dip seemed to have been in a couple of postseasons. I remember there were a couple of postseasons that he was kind of bad, and there was rumors that maybe Pittsburgh wanted to upgrade their goaltending. But I would still say Fleury for an expansion team is higher than Van Beesbroek. At the time Van Beesbroek joined Florida, it was seen that his starting days were over, and that was not true. I think with Fleury, it wasn't as much that his starting days were over. They just got this kid named Matt Murray, who's pretty damn good, and won 2 Stanley Cups as a rookie, and he was expendable. And because of expansion rules being as they are, some good players got taken. So Vegas absolutely can threaten those 83 points that Florida got that year. They're good enough, and they've got enough pieces on that roster to compete and to have games be important late in February, early March. I still don't see them making the playoffs, but they make it a lot more interesting. And part of the reason that I like it is because you've already got Vancouver's projected to be probably pretty bad. Arizona, with back-to-back losses, ironically to Vegas, they're already on this trajectory that's not what they'd hoped. Dylan Strome ends up getting sent down because he needs more time. So Arizona has issues. But with Vegas being good, if Vegas can keep this up, it can sort of distract from how potentially bad the Pacific is. And again, you've got Calgary, Edmonton, Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. And if those 5 are all good, we may be able to forget that there's 3 also-rans. But Vegas can take a real run at a couple of these teams. So here's the question I have for you guys. 3 games into the season, it's way too early. But are you buying into Vegas yet? Are you buying into the Vegas hype? Or do you look at Vegas and say, maybe these guys are it? Maybe these guys are going to do it? Let me know what you think. Because I'm interested to know, are people buying into this, or is this just a, well, once James Neal becomes James Neal again, a 20-25 goal scorer, and once Marc-Andre Fleury returns to Earth from this heroic, godlike, mythical creature he's become, does Vegas just take that status as an expansion team, and do they start getting beat 4-1, 5-1, 4-2? And is it just from there on out, it's expansion and end up at the bottom? And I've said, I don't see the point in tanking, and I don't think McPhee's trying to tank. The Shipachev, Theodore, Tuck storyline is still interesting, and it's still important, because you don't sign a guy for $4.5 million and then cut him. And if you're cutting him because of his play, you explain it and you say, we're cutting him because he wasn't good enough. But to say, well, we've got too many guys, so we have to let him go because we'd have to waive one of these other guys. There are guys on this roster that could get waived and pass through waivers. So I'm not sure that I understand that rationale completely. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. How far can they go? How far will they go? And we'll take a look at a later date and see how right or how wrong we are. They could lose 20 in a row from here. We just don't know. Expansion teams are really unpredictable. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. I have every team in the league now. Thank you very much to my friend from California for meaning that I no longer have a team in the league that I don't have their jersey, except I don't have a hat that I can find that doesn't look terrible. But that's for another time, and I'll talk to you again soon.